There is a lot of focus this morning, Boydie, on Erik ten Hag's future at Manchester United. Some would say the dreaded vote of confidence. He's had the backing of the Manchester United hierarchy all across the newspapers this morning, on our website as well. What do you make of this, and what do you make of the timing of this, considering what happened to them against Liverpool on Sunday? I think somebody had to speak, because that there's, if you don't take control of the situation, then people will write what they... Whereas if someone from the club comes out and explains the situation and tells you that no, we don't, we ain't going to get rid of them anytime soon, then you are controlling the agenda, basically. Whether you agree with it or not, I still think that, if results continue the way that they are, then it's going to be very difficult even for the hierarchy to back them. They've done that in the summer. I still think that they went round the houses and couldn't find someone that was ready for the Manchester United job, hence the reason why Erik ten Hag kept his job. Looking at it as well, you've got to. I know he's rewarded and a new contract and stuff like that as well, but if you're Erik ten Hag and that the club has went around and actively speaking to people and trying to get other people, and then your backroom staff has changed, you kind of get the feeling that, are you really in control of what's going on here? Yes, you've got a huge say in the signings, there's no doubt about that, but on the pitch, it's not been good for Manchester United, and they're going to have to improve, because they ain't going to get away with it for much longer. Because, there seems to just be an acceptance now that Manchester United will finish 4th, will finish 5th, will finish 5th, will finish 6th. If you're Manchester United and you grew up supporting them, from the 90s, and even, obviously Sir Alex Ferguson was a different animal altogether, but there's periods of time there where you thought that, Manchester United were the Manchester City of now. It was just a foregone conclusion that we're going to win the league, whereas now you're celebrating them finishing 4th, 5th and 6th. It's got to get better for Manchester United. Yeah, FA Cup winners last year. Now, what was noticeable for me watching on Super Sunday was there were fans booing at Old Trafford. We don't often hear that. What element of the club do you think the fans have been most frustrated with? Everything all boils down to the pitch. There's nothing you can. I know when things sometimes go bad off the pitch, and the hierarchy will start to get it, but the reality is, if you're winning games of football, nobody will question what's going on above you. Winning games of football covers up absolutely everything, and when you don't, then people start to ask questions and they start to look below the bonnet. So I think for Manchester United, if they can get back to winning games, it will give them time, but I don't think they're going to be in a position to go and win it week in, week out. So, this is going to be a trend. They might go and win 3-4 games in the bounce now, and they'll all get quiet again, then they'll lose 2 or 3 games, and then everything resurface and everybody's having a go again. I'll say it again, you need to win games of football. It always seems noisiest when it doesn't quite go right at Old Trafford more than any other club. They've had one win, it's because they're used to winning. I think when you've said that everybody in Manchester United, the bar is there, they said it there. When you go back to the 90s, Alex Ferguson, obviously Real Madrid and Manchester United and Barcelona, they're huge football clubs. But what Manchester United attract worldwide, you're always going to be under pressure, and when it's not at that level, you've got to come under criticism and you're going to have to deal with it. You can't have it both ways. You're at the biggest club in the world. There's a lot of perks go with that you get, but the flip side of that is when it doesn't go to plan, then you're going to get criticized. Just on that board backing then that we've seen across all of the newspapers on our websites, we've been reporting it this morning. 1 win, 2 defeats in their 3 games so far. If it were to continue like this, how much will that backing be tested? And could we see a change of manager this season, do you think? If it continues, there will be a change of manager, there's no doubt about it. You can't continue to lose games of football and expect to keep your job. Erik ten Hag will know that. He needs to find a way to get that team performing and start getting results. Even the Fulham game, I thought they huffed and puffed. They weren't great, obviously got the victory. Brighton, yeah, they could have won it at Brighton, but the Caddies lost it as well, and Brighton were missing 4. Everybody's on about Manchester United, so if you go back to that day, Brighton were missing 4 or 5 players that would probably have started that day as well. So it wasn't a full-strength Brighton team that were able to beat them. Then at the weekend, you can lose a game of football, but the way that they lost that to Liverpool at the weekend, your biggest rivals, more or less go down without a fight. You will have seen Liverpool go to Old Trafford and thrash them in the past, but Sunday was as comfortable a game as I've seen. Right, we're going to talk about this guy, Cristiano Ronaldo. 900 goals, and next up, he's up against Scotland. 899 more than you, Pete. Look, that's not true. That's not true. I can safely say Pete scored a couple more than that. 900th goal last night against Croatia in the 2-1 victory in the Nations League. That's who Scotland have got to go up against, but let's just take a look at some of the stats. I mean, it's just quite incredible. He's 39 years old, he just keeps on going. First goals for Sporting Lisbon, 7th October 2002. He scored 2 in a match, and that started off his time. Quick move to Manchester United. The goals Manchester United broke down into 2 sections though. Remember, first stint very positive, second less so. Real Madrid though. Real Madrid, that was his glory time, wasn't it? 450 goals, and so he's on 900 now. Lionel Messi, 867. Must be noted Lionel Messi is younger than Cristiano Ronaldo. Whether we're going to see Messi try and get himself up, I don't know if he's got the hunger of Ronaldo to score those goals. Ronaldo still wants 1,000, which unofficially have been scored by Pele and Romario, but he likes to refer to the fact that he can watch all of his goals on video, the others you can't. Yeah, wonder what he's alluding to there. Now you know 30 is considered by some clubs, some fans, that's the end of your footballing career, right? Not for this guy, broadcasting career as well. Yeah, well, I hope not. We're gone. Me too. 437 goals, and it's almost half his goals after 30, which again is unheard of. And if we're looking at comparisons, you've got Lionel Messi and stuff, but we talk about Erling Haaland now as maybe the next one, certainly with his goal-scoring records. You feel like Erling Haaland's going to potentially score a lot more before he's 30 than Ronaldo scoring after he's 30, but look, he says he's got another 100 goals in him. He could be playing the shape he's in to what? You wouldn't bet against him. No, you wouldn't. I don't think we've seen the end of Cristiano Ronaldo. He's going nowhere. These two keep being pushed around like pawns on chessboard. Now Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling both completed deadline day moves to try and reignite their club career. Sancho headed to Chelsea and Sterling joined Arsenal. And Nolan is alongside me to look through both in a little more detail. We'll start with Sancho, then Nolan, and plenty of options for Chelsea in that area of the pitch. Where does he fit? Well, that is a big question, isn't it? And as you say, they do have fantastic options already in those kind of attacking areas, so it is going to be a real challenge for Sancho to establish himself, as well as get back to his best form. So we can see some of those options they have hopefully here. Here we go. So we've got an array of options already that Sancho will be competing with. So for a start, Cole Palmer is surely a guaranteed starter for Chelsea at this point following a brilliant breakthrough season. He started this season really impressively. You've got your Felix has come in, Pedro Neto. These are guys 40-50 million pound signings he's come in to add to the side. We've got Noni Madueke, who's obviously scored a hat-trick this season against Wolves. Got himself an England call-up. He's looking in good form. Wolves got himself, and of course Christopher Nkunku and Mykhailo Mudryk, an £88.5 million signing as well. So Jadon Sancho, yeah, he does have his work cut out to kind of carve out a space for himself in that side. I suppose all of these players are really competing for those 3 attacking spots, aren't they? The left side, the right side, and the number 10 position behind the striker. So an array of options, and it will be really interesting to see whether Sancho can force his way in. Yeah, and when it comes to him forcing his way in, you would perhaps say he will need to increase his output if he wants to do that. I think so. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a fantastic talent. I don't think his talent is in question, and he really began fulfilling his potential in these early seasons here at Borussia Dortmund. We see the numbers here. I mean, 26 goals and assists in his first full season at Dortmund. 2019-20, he then got 30 goals, 33 goals and assists that season. 19 the following season, which was his final season at Dortmund. It was after that things began to go downhill for him, really. The move to Manchester United didn't work out in the way that he or the club would have hoped, and his numbers obviously not at the same level as they were previously. So we also see his minutes played declining season on season there. So yeah, a lot of work for him to do to get those minutes up, get himself playing regularly again, but also get the numbers up and get back to the form he showed at Borussia Dortmund. Would it be a similar story for Raheem Sterling in terms of the way that the numbers have gone in the wrong direction in recent years? Yes, I think you can say that. Obviously, Sterling is sort of indirectly involved in Sancho's move to Chelsea, isn't he? By going to Arsenal and freeing up that space in the squad for Sancho at Chelsea. So yeah, I mean, again, some fantastic numbers earlier in his career at Man City. We know the heights he enjoyed there, obviously winning titles, making huge contributions in terms of his goal involvements. 27 goal involvements in that 2018-19 season, 21 the following season, 17 after that, 18 in his final season at Manchester City. At Chelsea, obviously we see these bottom two seasons here. It has been more difficult for him. I suppose the difference with Sancho is that we know Sterling can do it in the Premier League. He's very much proved his quality in the Premier League, whereas Sancho's best work so far in his career came in Germany. So the challenge for Arsenal and for Sterling is to get these numbers back to the levels they were at Manchester City. I would be fascinated to see a piece actually if there's any attacking player that's left Manchester City and their numbers have gone up, because I suspect there probably aren't too many of them. Anyway, we touched on the number of options that Chelsea have in Sancho's position. That's a little bit of an advantage for Sterling, is that Arsenal, I was going to say, aren't quite as blessed. They're still quite good, that quintet of players, but still not as many as Chelsea anyway. They're not bad, are they? But no, they have fewer options, I suppose, fundamentally. I mean, that's the key point here, isn't it? It does look on the face of it that Raheem Sterling has a better chance than Sancho of playing regularly. We know he likes to play off the left. He'll be competing with Martinelli and Trossard, but he can also play on the right and provide competition for Saka. So opportunities for him to really make a place for himself. The other thing you'd say is that Jesus, Trossard, and obviously they use Havertz too, can all play down the middle, as actually probably could Sterling. Yeah, well, that's another advantage for him, his versatility. He has been used in that false nine role before, and that is something that Arsenal may revisit. Of course, Raheem Sterling worked with Mikel Arteta very successfully at Man City as well. So that is another advantage for him there in terms of getting back to his best. Nolan, thank you very much. Let's get to Manchester United now, and Erik Ten Hag will be sitting a little bit more comfortably, won't you, today, after receiving backing from the club's hierarchy. United have lost 2 of their opening 3 league games, including a disappointing 3-0 defeat to their great rivals Liverpool at the weekend. Let's go there now live. We were with Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada when they gave Ten Hag their full backing. What was said? Yes, we spent an hour with Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth on Sunday in the hours ahead of kickoff against Liverpool in the East End boardroom, and they just gave us an overview of their time at the club so far, but in particular the focus on Erik Ten Hag. Now, it was very intriguing to me that Ashworth, who is the sporting director, Barada the club CEO, so the 2 most senior and powerful football administrators at the club, they had no input into the season review that kept Ten Hag in the job because it preceded their appointment. So it was Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the co-owner, and Sir Dave Brailsford, who went through that process, interviewed a series of managers around Europe, and decided to stick with Ten Hag. Now, while they weren't involved in the decision, the pair said that they were very happy with it because they believe Ten Hag is a good manager. What he was lacking was greater knowledge and expertise and daily support around him, which he will now get in this new Ineos-empowered football operation structure. They stressed that they have a very good working relationship with him. They enjoyed being on tour with Ten Hag in navigating a transfer window where they really addressed all their key positions that they had targeted, and that they believe the best is still yet to come under this manager and with this team. Okay, he has received a lot of backing, hasn't he, in particular in the transfer market? So with so much change at the club, should a little bit of settling in be expected, you think? Certainly, I can understand the frustrations from fans and analysts who are looking at Manchester United and thinking they've still got the same problems as last season, especially in their structure out of possession. When that first press gets beaten, they are so easy to play against because you've got a midfield that's isolated, which is Casemiro on Sunday, the gaps between midfield and the centre-backs are too huge. The centre-backs not aggressive enough when the ball is lost. And then you've got huge gaps as well between the centre-backs and the full-backs who stay so high and wide, and Liverpool exploited that perfectly, but other opponents are also encouraged to target United in those areas. However, the football operation structure, they're staying pretty calm because they know it's still early days for Ten Hag working within this new structure with that expertise around him, like I've mentioned, but also the fact that he's bidding in new signings, and the only one of which went on the US pre-season tour was Lenny Euro, and he picked up a serious injury 33 minutes into the first game, so Joshua Zirkzee, Masraoui, delete. Ugarte, who's only just walked through the door, they still need time to acclimatize, so they're looking at it and thinking, well, we weren't going to see a massive change in playing style because the players still need this adjustment period and to acclimatize. Not just to their new surroundings and to their teammates, but to those demands that Ten Hag wants now, while Dan Ashworth and will be analyzing Ten Hag based on the summer moving forward, because he's now finally working under this new structure, the reason why there's so much pressure already is. Because everyone else has the memories of last season fresh in their minds, the fact that United posted their lowest finish in the Premier League. They were dumped out of the Champions League in the group stage. They did finish the campaign strongly by winning the FA Cup, which ultimately kept Ten Hag in the job. But then that season review and how long it lasted, and the fact that United engaged so many coaches. Jamie Carragher made a good point: you don't talk to other managers so openly if you're happy with who you've got currently, and that's why we're in a position where we're 3 games into the new season and it already feels like there is so much noise around Ten Hag's job security. Yeah, absolutely right there always is just finally Nolan, so got some insights into how the club's recruitment works. What can you tell us about that? Yeah, Manchester United underwent 32 transactions this summer now. For full insight into all of those and how recruitment will work moving forward under this Ineos-powered leadership, you can go to the 1 Hour Sports website, where you can see all Ashworth and Barada's details word for word on that. But just to give you a few highlights, Manchester United finally are working in a very sustainable fashion. They're not pivoting from their valuations on key targets. They're also managing their incomings and outgoings very closely, so they're staying within PSR brackets. They're also, in terms of selling, looking to maybe put down their valuations in pieces, but also add in buyback clauses and sell-ons, which mean not only are they getting the short-term effect of allowing a player to leave, which they've been very bad at doing in the past, but they're banking a good fee, and they're also getting future benefits from that with those clauses. And that is now a new process that they're going to work with moving forward, so it's going to be the norm. It hasn't been for ages. United have held on to players that they should have released because they weren't getting as much money for them, or they weren't cute enough in negotiating, and Ashworth's come in, and immediately we've seen a big difference in what they've done then. In terms of the incomings, I think it's been very significant that they've not signed a player over the age of 26, so again, they're looking long-term. If you look at all the players they've brought in, physically quite imposing, so they are trying to create a more robust squad. They've also changed the dynamic with some of the profiles they brought in, which they believe will allow Erik Ten Hag to properly implement his system. But the manager already under pressure to show that he can do it, and that has to happen a lot quicker than it has already. Yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you very much, Nolan.